Okie dokie. Hey, we're live.
Oh, there you go.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Yes, I have been on a hiatus for a while from doing my Facebook Lives. And I had to get back on the horse. And I thought, no better place to start than with the fabulous David Johnson with the Seminole County Property Appraiser's office. Before we step into that, let me just go ahead and mention who I am. I'm Linda Schulte, the broker owner of Schulte Realty here in the Central Florida area. Do these little sessions of Facebook Live just to do an education to the general public. Maybe even some realtors will pick up something here or there, or anybody could pick up some information. Always trying to get really important information out to the public. We're almost to the end of the year. I heard recently, I think we're only like 50 days away from Christmas.
I know, I can't believe it.
Which means we're close to 50 days away from the end of the year.
Exactly.
And if anybody remembers me last year, that I was on a crazy kick of, if you bought a home, make sure you file your homestead exemption. Make sure you do it. Make sure you do it. And I'm going to do that again this year because it is, it's not like millions of dollars you're saving. Every little bit helps. It could be anywhere from $200 to $2,000 a year.
Exactly.
And that would be great for, if you have extra $2,000, you could buy me an extra gift, or David, you never know. But it's just a good idea to have that. And there's been some things that have come up over the year with talking about how do you file your home to be able to get your homestead exemption. I've had conversations about quitclaim deeds versus warranty deeds. So there is about 4 hours of information David and I could talk about, but I'm going to try to keep it simple. So before I get started, I would love for David, for you to introduce who you are and what do you do for us.
Very good. I'm David Johnson. I'm the Seminole County Property Appraiser. And I've told Linda this before. I always enjoy working with our real estate professionals because I'm out there trying to educate the public as much as possible too. All this is kind of complicated, but our real estate professionals are a big key to this, and they're part of the team. And we all have your best interest at heart, and we want to make sure that we get you good information so that you're an informed buyer, seller, property owner, and again, get you all the benefits that you're entitled to that are allowed by law. So, as the Seminole County Property Appraiser, obviously one of my jobs is to value all the property for tax purposes, and that's actually a chunk of it. But the other piece of it, and the part that's just as important, is that this office also administers any exemptions from property taxes that are allowed by law. The primary one being the homestead exemption, but there's about 30 other exemptions that are allowed for tax exemption because of disability, veterans, widows, blind folks, people like that. So all kinds of opportunities out there, but certainly the homestead exemption is the primary one, and it is the key to helping you pay less property taxes, and again, giving you some status in your property too. So.
And while we're talking with Seminole County Property Appraiser, if you bought anywhere in the state of Florida, this is something you guys really do need to do, is to go ahead and take care of that. Now if you bought a house in 2019, obviously you want to go ahead and file for it. If you missed it in 2018, this is your opportunity. What we want to know is, people say, what do I need to do if I just bought a house? How do I get my homestead exemption? How do I file for it? And nobody better but David to tell us, how does somebody do that if they just bought a home in 2019?
Sure. And Linda, great point. The information I'm going to give you obviously is Seminole County, but this is statewide. The exemptions are allowed by the state constitution and the state statute. So all 67 of us have to play by the same rules. So what I say here in Seminole, we may have some nuances on how to apply and all that good stuff, but the end result is still the same across the state. To Linda's point, if you bought a house in 2017 or 16 and 18, or certainly 19, and you forgot to file for homestead exemption, and it's your primary residence, obviously you missed those years that you didn't apply, but we want you to go ahead and apply for 2020, okay? Because that's important to get started at some point. And it's a very simple process. Here in Seminole County, and my colleagues in Orange, Osceola County, and Lake County also have the same ability. We in this office will send out within a month after you've had your closing and you've got title to the property. We send out a postcard, and it looks like this. It may be hard to see on Facebook, but we send this out to all of our new property owners, reminding folks that there's the opportunity to file for homestead. And what we want you to do in Seminole County, if possible, is to go online and file online. and our web address is scpafl.org. And that is right on the home page. There's a button that says File for Exemption. You click that, and it literally takes 5 minutes, maybe, to apply for homestead exemption online. Certainly, if folks have more complicated issues or they're just not comfortable, we have wonderful customer service folks who can walk you through this over the phone, via mail, or certainly we're here every day. We'd love to see you also. But essentially, to qualify, is you have to have title to the property as of January 1st of any given year. So if you bought something in 2019, it's now November, you don't plan on leaving your property by January 1, 2020, you can go ahead and pre-file for homestead exemption online, as we talked about. It needs to be your primary residence. And what does that mean? That question comes up sometimes. Can I have a house in North Carolina and I go back up there in the summertime? Is that okay? Of course that's okay. There's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of folks in this state who have secondary homes. But you can only have one primary residence. And the way the law describes primary residence for the folks here in Florida is that, typically where you're voting, what county are you voting in? If you're voting in North Carolina and your cars are registered in North Carolina and your kids go to school in North Carolina, that's North Carolina is probably your primary residence. But if you're doing all that here, then if you spend 6 months a year in North Carolina and you still vote here, you still file your federal income tax with this Florida address as your primary residence, that's what we're going to be looking at. The other thing you cannot do is you cannot have a homestead exemption in another state. There's other states that have similar primary residence-based exemptions, North Carolina being one of them. Most of the states actually have that. So you've got to choose one. You can't have one here and one in North Carolina. But once you've chosen that, the process is very simple to qualify and to maintain it.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm asked that question a lot because I do have people that are living in both areas.
Sure.
They have a winter home here, summer home up there. So that's really good information. And one of the things that you want to do is to see where your best bang for your buck is.
Absolutely.
Is it better to have your homestead up there? Or is it better down here in Florida? And that's when you want to reach out to your CPAs or your attorneys and check in with that.
Right. And I will also say, as a little caveat, is again, we've got wonderful customer service folks here in the office. We will walk you through that. We will ask some questions, and we will make sure that you're making that right decision that's best for you. But obviously, your CPAs, financial advisors, are also important pieces of that equation.
Yeah, you want to reach out to them, have a good team. If anybody is ever needing a referral to somebody that's a CPA or a financial planner or attorney, please reach out to me. I have great referrals for everybody on that. So going back to somebody who's looking to go ahead and do their filing, they're going to want to have their property address that they're living at, be their primary residence. Their driver's license has to be changed.
It needs to be matching that address, right?
And then the other thing, this is the one thing that I have to make sure everybody understands. After you buy the house, about 4 to 6 weeks, you're going to get a deed in the mail to your property. Right. You need to have that.
Right.
If it's gone 8 weeks or 12 weeks, then you need to go ahead and give your title company a call, give your realtor a call, and say, hey, I didn't get this yet. You may have just totally missed it in the mail because you get so much stuff when you buy a house, so much junk mail comes in. But do reach out to your title company, your realtor, and they'll be able to help you out with that. So they need to have the deed, their driver's license changed, and be primary residents. Anything else?
Well, what we'd like to see here in Seminole County is, if you're going to register to vote, that you're registering to vote here in Seminole County with that address that you've just purchased. Also, sometimes we will ask for utility bills to make sure that those are, again, going back to that property. What we're trying to determine is, we're not trying to get in your business too much. We just want to make sure that this is not a rental property or an investment property, but it really is your primary residence. And Linda brings up a good point about your deed. We don't necessarily need to see that in this office because we have all that online. We have access to it. But you need that for your records, okay? Your important financial records and property records, you need to have that part of your file. But for our purposes, we know that you're the owner, and certainly if we've missed anything, we can backtrack and get into that. But Linda's correct, you need to have those for your records also.
All right, well, good. We're going to reiterate on how to apply and when to apply and what the deadlines are. Deadlines by March 1st.
Yeah, exactly. So March 1st is the deadline for filing for homestead exemption. So if you bought the house anytime in 2019, as long as you have applied by March 1st of 2020, you're good to go. I will tell you, there are circumstances where people forget, they late file. We can work with folks all the time. We certainly encourage that. So if March 30th comes up or April 1st comes up and you forgot to apply, please do not think that you're out of the game completely. We want to talk to you and we will work with you. The primary thing is, did you have title to the property by January the 1st? And even if you're applying in April or May of the following year, as long as you had title on that and you were living there, that's the key. Okay. So
yeah, don't procrastinate.
Yeah, don't procrastinate.
I bought a property in 2002, and I procrastinated January of 2002. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. Till all of a sudden, it was March 1st of 2003. I was standing in a line it was in Orange County. I was standing in line for I think 8 hours. And don't let that happen to you. Because you can do it all online now.
Exactly, and that's why we encourage the online, and that's why we send out a little reminder postcard. Because Linda's correct, you get bombarded with so much stuff, but we're just trying to tweak people's memories. Go ahead and get on there, do it now. It's done, and you can move on. So.
All right. Well, cool. Thank you. There's another thing that's popped up. I was mentioning it. There's different dynamics in how people are buying houses now. Sometimes it's mom and dad and a child are all living together. Sometimes it's mom and dad own their own house somewhere in Florida, and that's their primary residence, but they go on a mortgage with one of their kids. Sometimes a kid is actually doing the same thing for their parents, maybe. So when we have something like that where there's 3 people buying the home, they're all 3 on the mortgage, but only one of them is going to be their primary residence, the other 1 or 2 are actually somewhere else. Can that house be a homestead for that one person that lives there? Can they do that?
Sure, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
And there's several ways of doing it. The simplest way is when you're buying the property initially, and this is going to be your circumstances, talk to your title company, your real estate professional about what your goals are, that this is what we're going to do. And there's a way of titling the property, and not to get too nuanced here, but it's called joint tenancy with rights of survivorship. And real estate professionals know about this, title companies know about this. And essentially what it does is it allows for 3 people, 4 people, 5 people even, as many as you want to basically have a 100% undivided interest in that property. And if only one of them is living there as their primary resident and the others have their own homesteads or they're somewhere else, that's okay. That person that's living there and it's titled that way can still get a full homestead exemption. Again, we don't really have time to get into all the nuances of that, but again, talk to your real estate professional, talk to your title companies, tell them what your goals are, and they will walk you through that process. There's another way of doing it too, which is through a trust. Trusts are a little bit more complicated, and to be quite frank with you, depending on your financial circumstances and the complexity of your situation.
Right,
trust may be the best way to do that. There's a carve out to allow for that same scenario, but trust can be exceedingly expensive to put together. Thousands and thousands of dollars, and certainly sometimes you have to expend that if it's complicated. But the easiest way to do it is to title the property initially as joint tenancy rights of survivorship.
And pretty much, if you want to explain what that means, if there's 3 people on it, if something happens to one of the folks.
So exactly. So as I said, you basically have, the 3 of you basically have a 100% undivided interest in the property. So if someone passed away, unfortunately, that person's interest goes to the other 2 that are left. Okay, and if something happens to 2 of the 3, it passes seamlessly to the surviving. That's why it says joint tenancy rights or survivorship. The surviving person or persons receives the interest from the one that passed away.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, and as David said, everybody's situation and scenario is going to be different. So we're giving the basic. Right. This is like basic block and tackle here. If you're going to be getting into anything that's more significant, there could be financial things, there could be wealth management topics that you need to get into. Those are some things that I would need to. If you give me a call, I can talk to you about it. Obviously, you can always call the property appraiser's office and talk to them about it. But again, if you ever need a referral to a CPA, a wealth management person, an attorney,
yeah.
please reach out to me. I have no problem giving some great referrals out there to it.
Well, and I think the thing is, and I think this is Linda's and my philosophy, you know, you can't know everything about everything, okay? But the one thing you can know is who to call. And Linda's and I have been in business long enough to know, you know, who to call type thing.
Yeah.
And I would not stand here and try to give out legal advice or anything like that either, because everybody's circumstances are different. But we can give you a broad outline and certainly direct you in the correct way, so you don't make a mistake, a big mistake down the road.
I know enough to be the source of the source.
There you go.
I know enough about that. So I know after you just said that, I'm going to jump into something else, and I don't know what level you can talk to this about. I had a conversation, happened to be last night. I was out with 3 attorneys. Yay, me. I know some of them are probably watching right now, so hi there, my attorney friends. And the subject came up that one of them said, I don't understand, why does everybody want to do a quitclaim deed? And he says, you should do a warranty deed. And I know that there's differences between them. I'm not an attorney to be able to explain it. But I will warn you, one thing he said, when he says, no, you should probably look into doing a warranty deed, they go, no, somebody told me I needed to do a quitclaim deed. And so I don't know who people are getting information from. I joked around, I said, it's because it's their realtor telling them that. And he started laughing at me. And I said, I don't do that, I swear. That's something I tell him to go back to an attorney. So on that note, what's the difference between I want to either put somebody on or take somebody off and doing the quitclaim deed versus a warranty deed? And I don't know if we want to touch into special warranties.
Well,
let's keep it simple.
Let's keep it simple. Yeah, I think so. And here's where the difference. If you're trying to do, you're adding a spouse, you're adding a child, you're doing something, you're adding a name or taking a name away. Typically, a quitclaim deed will be sufficient. Okay. Yeah. And what a quitclaim deed does is this. Again, this is not Black's Law book's definition of a quitclaim deed, but this is David's definition and essentially the practical definition. A quitclaim deed is good for adding and subtracting someone on title, okay? And what you're essentially saying is, if you're that person that has title now and you're going to add someone on, you're saying, if I have an interest in this property, you're not guaranteeing you have any interest, okay? But typically you are. I'm going to allow you to get on there and you can share in that interest, okay? That's why attorneys and folks that are in the title business are a little bit more skeptical of quitclaim deeds, because they just don't carry the oomph, if you will, or the guarantee. Let's go back to the simple definition of a warranty deed. Essentially, a warranty deed is you're getting a warranty, okay? That if I use that instrument, a title company, real estate professional, attorney, whatever, has kind of flushed out, you know, are there any liens on the property? Do you have a clear chain of title to the property? Do you have an interest that you actually can share in or give away? And that's why when you see a traditional transaction, when you buy your home, you know, from a willing buyer, willing seller, you're always going to get a warranty deed.
Right.
Unless it's an off-market transaction, which becomes a whole other issue.
We won't jump into specialty deeds right
now.
But anyway,
but typically, if you're just adding or subtracting a name, a quitclaim deed will be sufficient. A warranty deed is a better instrument to utilize if you're actually transacting a property or trying to do a more complicated title change. So.
Okay. And you know, one of the things in my experience, I've done listings where all of a sudden a quitclaim deed pops up in the title search, and it was done 13 years ago by Dad, who has already passed away, and Mom passed away even before them. I'm not sitting here trying to give more money to our attorneys. I really am not. I'm just looking out for your best interest. Please contact an attorney, a well-qualified real estate attorney, in order to do a quitclaim deed or a warranty deed. Those are very important things, because you do one thing wrong on it, and it can really muck up the water.
Well, and this is the analogy I like to use also. You know, buying a piece of real estate, no matter what its value is probably one of your bigger transactions you've ever going to do in your life. It's one thing if you've made a bad choice of buying a pair of pants or a pair of shoes and didn't get the right price or whatever. It's a whole other thing if you've got a piece of real estate that you didn't purchase it correctly, and then untangling some of that stuff even becomes more expensive down the road.
It does.
And that typically shows up, as Linda said, when you get ready to sell it. Okay, and it's like, where did this come from? And then it becomes more of a problem. So
right, no, it does, I mean, the experience that I had, I want to say it was maybe 6 years ago. It was in the middle of a transaction, was popped up. It was odd because the person who had ownership of it had almost the identical name as the daughter, and unusual spelling and everything. So it was kind of like, wait, you don't look like you're 101 years old. I'm not. And so, and it caused us a delay, and then it caused her to have to do a probate situation where I think it cost her like $5,000 that she didn't need to spend. So please, again, I'm not trying to say, oh, let's make our attorneys rich by giving them more money. It's not that much money to take care of it. But again, I will be happy to refer you to some awesome people out there if you want to talk to somebody. Again, give me a call if you want to chat with me. No legal advice, but I can give you the nuts and bolts about it.
And Linda, again, you bring up a very good point about probates. Sometimes adult children move in with their elderly parents and to take care of them or whatever. And then at some point it's time to sell the property. They never probate the estate, and that becomes where the issue slows down the transaction. It can get expensive, so you need to take care of that stuff as quickly as possible so you can do what you need to do and move on.
He mentioned the word probate, and it's just like, dang, I want to start going into probate stuff.
That's another stuff.
It's another one. I'll have to get with one of my attorney friends out there and have one about probate. And no, you cannot sell a house, even though you think mom was going to give it to me. You don't know what's going on in the background. That's why. And okay, that's a whole other subject about being preparing. Okay, all right, stop, Linda. So a couple of other things about going into doing the homestead exemption. And again, I come on and I talk about it so much towards the end of the year. I actually coach all of my customers too when they buy a property. As soon as you get this in, go do it. But some of them put it behind them and they don't take care of it. But it's something you want to take care of, because if there's an issue, like maybe there's a marital issue that, for instance, maybe your spouse doesn't have a Social Security card for the United States, and you have them on there. Those are things you want to take care of while you can before it goes into when you miss your deadline to be able to file.
More time to try to figure it out.
Right, and I don't know if this is something you can talk about. There was a situation where a lady, U.S. citizen, she bought a home, she had it titled to the title company with her husband, and she's married, and they're both on the title, but he had no Social Security number. I think is what the situation was.
Green card, maybe, or
maybe a green card.
Okay.
And he couldn't, so she couldn't homestead it because he couldn't be on it. The only way that, and maybe you can go into the only way that she can fix that. Maybe you can explain that to us.
So yeah, and that gets a little complicated too. And this is one reason we would have someone, to talk to our professionals here. But if one's a U.S. citizen and one is not, but they're both on title, okay, to get a homestead exemption, they both need to be U.S. citizen or have a green card, okay. Or the one that doesn't. Obviously, the one that's the U.S. citizen, it doesn't have the spouse on there that's not a citizen. They can get it on their own, to get their homestead exemption on their own. But both parties need to be U.S. citizen or have a green card. Okay. In order to
if they're both on title.
If they're both on title. If they're both on title, exactly.
Yeah, so I guess one of the things that happened in the situation was the title company just asked her, are you married?
Right.
And she said yes, and no other questions were asked about it, unfortunately.
That's not automatic.
Yeah, and it's not it's, again, maybe some extra questions.
Sure.
Were shoulda, woulda, couldas, but at the end of the day, it's she's trying to fix it now.
Right.
And I think the only way that she can fix it is that she has to quit claim deed them off.
Probably. That's the quick way of doing it. Obviously, he could apply to become a U.S. citizen, but that's a very long and laborious process. So, there's a quick way of taking care of it. And, But again, we can walk folks through that and try to help them not hit any potholes along the way.
Any potholes will lay up. Okay, so the tax bills, did you say that they just came out?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so the tax collector, by law, has to mail the tax bills by November 1st of every year. So that's been done. Again, that's statewide. And so you should be or have received in the mail your tax bill. And if your mortgage company is escrowing your property taxes, you typically just get a statement from the collector that says, we forwarded on the bill to your mortgage company. Check for that, make sure that's all in place. If it's not, then certainly contact the tax collector's office or your mortgage company and make sure that's all in place. Those folks who pay their own property taxes, they get an actual bill. And the way the law works is they go out November 1st. If you pay your taxes in November, you get a 4% discount. And by law, if your taxes are being escrowed through your mortgage company, they have to pay in November so that you get the maximum benefit. If you pay your taxes in December, it's a 3% discount. 2% in January, 1% in February, nothing in March. Because, to be honest with you, even though bills go out November 1st, they do not become delinquent until April the 1st. So you basically have 5 months to pay your property taxes. And again, you're paying in arrears. So in other words, the bill that you just got was for the 2019 property taxes. Okay, so a year from now, you're going to get a bill, and it's going to be for the 2020 tax bills. So,
yeah, and that's something that is so interesting and so confusing to buyers and sellers when we're doing a closing, especially towards the end of the year. But especially when we're having it happen in November or December, it is title companies have to really be on the spot with that and making sure that they're collecting from who they should be collecting for. They actually should be paying the entire 2019 a tax bill at that point if we're closing in November or December.
One of the questions we get, Linda, a lot here in the office, and we're certainly wanting to work with our taxpayers, and again, you get so much information thrown at you at closing, and I know that this is explained to them, but the new property owner says, I bought this house in September, and I got the tax bill. Shouldn't that be prorated back to the guy who owned it for the first 9 months? And you say, well, it was. When you went to closing, there was a credit, that was given to you for those 9 months that the former owner owned it, and that came off your side. You got a credit. You still have to write the check, but you got that credit back when you closed. But people forget that sometimes. They think that the tax collector's office will send out a new bill based only on those 3 months. No, that's why all that happens at closing, and why it's so important to have, again, I emphasize this over and over again, qualified real estate professionals walking you through this process, because there's so many moving parts, especially that first year. After the first year, you know what, it becomes kind of automatic until you get ready to buy or sell something again. But again, we answer that question a lot, and it's and rightfully so, because it does become confusing. So
gotcha. So one of the things that came up recently too is somebody contacted me. They have an investment property, and they said, "Oh my gosh, my taxes went up a lot." And so I went back and I'm like, "Let me just take a look at it." I went back and the property value went up. It was insignificant, maybe $5,000 value went up. The market value that you do your taxes on, the assessed value. I'm sorry. Then I went back and I looked the year before, it went up like $25,000. So what does somebody do that's an investor or even a homeowner that they feel that the assessed value you're taxing the house on, if they feel it's too high, they feel like it should be less? Is there a process they can go through?
Sure.
Okay.
The easiest way to do it is, again, give us a call, at our phone number, and 407-665-7506. That's our main customer service line. We will direct that call to one of the appraisers, and he or she will explain why the value went up. If there's some level of disagreement about whether it's too much, that's really not representative of what the property is worth, there's a process. We've kind of already passed it for 2019, unfortunately, but we can still look at informal stuff where you can file a petition with the Value Adjustment Board. That typically happens middle of September. That's the time frame to make that happen when we send out proposed property tax notices. And that's a time frame that there's a formal process that gets established. But we're here every day. Once again, if you get your tax bill the other day and you think it's too high as far as the value goes for the property, give us a call right now and we'll take a look at it. I will tell you, we're valuing hundreds of thousands of pieces of property, and we make the assumption that they are all of similar quality and standard maintenance stuff. But there are obviously properties that have problems, water damage. There's been abandonment or whatever. We may not know about that. Once that we're made aware of that, we can certainly make adjustments to the value. And move forward from there. So we encourage a conversation for sure.
Right, like maybe even the interior hasn't been maintained
Absolutely.
and in accordance with everybody else's house
Right,
around
exactly.
you. So there's a process. So when they get the proposed taxes, that's the time, folks. Take a look at it
It's
at that
August.
moment. It comes out in August?
Yeah, mid-August is the proposed property tax bills go out. And the theory is we want to try to get everything all established in good shape before bills go out in November, because that's why those time frames are always there. That August time frame, September time frame is a great opportunity to say, this is what the property appraiser came up with. Let's see if he or she's on track.
Okay.
And if something shows up, that's a good time to call. But again, not everybody pays attention, okay, including members of my own family, okay? And bills, it seems like when a bill actually goes out in November, it gets people's attention a little bit more.
I know.
But again, please give us a call,
Yeah.
because we can still work with you. We still have some latitude, and we're glad to do that. So.
Okay. And just to make sure, if somebody has a property that's not homesteaded, are they protected any way of how much it can go up per year for taxes or values or?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not nearly as robust as a homestead exemption, which is the other reason why homestead is so important. For a non-homesteaded property, and I always get asked the question, what's a non-homesteaded property? It's everything that's not homesteaded. So it's vacant land, it's commercial buildings, it's hotels, it's all, whatever. The law allows for what is known as a 10% cap. In other words, the amount that the assessment can go up from year to year on non-homesteaded properties is 10%.
Maximum. Okay.
For homesteaded properties, to give you some perspective, the law says it's the lesser of 3% or the consumer price index. Well, the consumer price index has been below 2% for a number of years. 1.7, 1.8, I think it was 1.9 this year. So you can see the difference between 10% and 1.9 or even 3% is huge. And so, again, that's the importance of homestead and the importance of applying for it. But they are protected with a 10% cap.
Okay. And that's something, even if you're an investor out there, those are things to be looking at. And, get with your wealth management person, talk to your real estate professional. You can give me, again, honestly, just give me a shout at 407-7, I keep on saying call me, I never give them my number, 407-721-0611. Text message me, call me, or you can also get me an email with linda@SchulteRealty.com. I don't have my beautiful sign behind me because I have no idea, because I've been on hiatus from this, so I'm not even sure where that's at, so... this is all really great information, and I think David and I could sit here for about 4 hours and talk about everything to do with homestead exemptions and so forth. So, is there anything really important you need to get out to everybody? It's your Seminole County people mainly, but anybody out there.
Well, I think the thing is, as we approach the end of the year, it's an opportunity to do a lot of cleanup with our business situation. Certainly, if you bought anything for the first 10 months of this year, go ahead and go online, apply for homestead exemption at scpafl.org. Again, it's right there on the homepage. If you're planning on buying a property before the end of the year, interest rates are historically low. I know you guys are busy, and we're going to continue to be busy. Make sure you go back on there and apply again for homestead. And I think maybe in January, February, we can get back together and reiterate this one more time.
Right. Now, I think that would be a great idea. I really enjoy talking with you. Now, I just wanted to just augment what David said about interest rates are really super low.
Right.
I know someone's like, oh, I can't believe they went up to, even if it goes up to 5%. I'm like, what are you talking
That's
about?
historically low. Yeah.
That's crazy, because back in the 80s it was like 18, 19%. And something it's if you, especially it's going to be your home, it's great to get in here now so you can get your homestead done before the end of the year. So, buyers, let's get rocking and rolling. Let's get get your pre-approvals. That's the main thing you got to have, is a pre-approval before you get out there and start looking. Got to know what you can afford. On that note, I want to just mention to people who are on the fence about whether or not you should be selling during the holiday season, please do it. Please list your houses. Last year, I was working with 3 buyers they wanted to close before the end of the year. And I'm not talking $100,000. I'm not talking a $200,000. I'm talking $500,000, $600,000, and $700,000 buyers. Right. So it's not, so these are some things that you guys want to start thinking about is, maybe it will be a little bit of an inconvenience, but the people that are out there that are listing their homes, the people out there that are looking, they're serious and ready to move. Mm-hmm. They're ready to rock and roll. And those agents that are out there hustling and working during the holiday season, like I do, we're ready to make things happen. So,
but I think the other thing, and you know this better than anybody, Linda, and your other real estate colleagues, inventory is so low right now in the Orlando metro area. So if you've thought about selling your house, this is the time to do it, because people are looking for inventory, and your pool that you're competing with is very small. Yeah. And again, we have people from all over the country moving here, especially from up north. We get a lot of influx of new residents in the wintertime. It's an opportunity. Yeah,
they start coming in. Everybody's like, oh, is your business really slow in November and December?
No.
And I'm like, no,
it's really busy.
It's very busy.
I know here in the office it's very busy, because people are trying to get things cleaned up and tied up and closed and settled. And
one other thing too, because we are maybe about 50 days towards the end of the year. And somebody just asked me, it's like, well, how long does it take to buy a house? And my answer to them was, I can make it happen in 14 days.
Wow.
Even if they're buying, if they're a lender, but all the parts have to come together. Right. Everything has to marry together very well. But on the average, I mean, I'm closing them, if all the parties agree, 21, 30 days. Sometimes they want to wait 45 or 60 days depending on all the circumstances. But there is a possibility that we can make things happen before the end of the year. And listen, I don't mind sitting at a closing table on December 31st signing papers at all.
Well, and
I'll bring the champagne.
And I will tell you also, like I said, at certain price points, those houses that are in that $250,000 to $400,000 range, they are moving very, very quickly. And so that's, just keep that under consideration. So.
And under 250,
it's gone. You're gonna have multiple offers.
They're gone before you put them on the market. Sometimes.
Yeah, you're gonna have multiple offers, and your lender will get you closed in probably less than 14 days.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, I've got some great lenders out there. I got great title people. I hustle. I make things happen. Got a good team working with me. And you're part of my team too. I appreciate you.
Well, we're glad getting information out to everybody. That's important. So.
It really is. Well, we're going to be back in probably January, and we'll talk again. If you guys have any questions for David, please reach out to his organization. And the number again?
407-665-7506. Or you can reach us on the web at www.scpafl.org.
All right. And me, you can always catch Linda Schulte with Schulte Realty at 407-721-0611. And before we go, I want to do a little bit of a trivia thing about David, or fact about David. Where were you born?
In this building.
Seriously, that's so funny. We're both Florida natives. I'm from Miami, Florida born and raised. 4th generation real estate professional in the state of Florida. And
this building used to be called the Seminole Memorial Hospital, and I was born here in 1963. So
isn't that a fun fact about David? All right. Well, on that note, I'm going to end it with Schulte Realty. We cover Florida like the sunshine. So anywhere in Florida you want to buy or sell a home, give me a call. I'll connect you with the right people, and we will see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Holidays,
Happy holidays.